what do you give the Queen? I mean, that's just like the hardest question ever.
I don't think we're allowed to sing her happy birthday, though.
No, I don't think that would be a very good idea, no.
Harry and I have decided to have a joint present this year, so it makes it a bit easier when we can share the responsibility of getting it right.
We are just the supporting cast on those occasions. There is only one person they're there for.
Over 9 decades, the country and Commonwealth have joined her in celebration. The world has changed beyond recognition. As leaders have come and gone, the Queen has remained a figure of national pride. Her 90th birthday isn't purely about her achievements as monarch, instead a very personal moment which will naturally have her family at its heart. Are you looking forward to celebrating with the Queen?
Yes, very much so. It's going to be a fun, sort of packed schedule with lots of events going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And publicly and privately celebrating as well.
Yes, a big dinner, I think, probably on her birthday as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep her up very late. She won't like that at all.
It's rare for members of the royal family to speak openly about the Queen. This is a special occasion, and they all want to pay their own personal tributes to a woman who continues to influence and encourage them.
It's sort of really sinking in now, as we're sort of fast approaching it, just how much of a major milestone it is to have the Queen celebrating her 90th, and after everything she's achieved, and it's quite a moment for the family.
Do you fight over what you're all going to get her as a birthday present? Is it difficult?
There's a lot of, what do you give the Queen? I mean, that's just like the hardest question ever. So we regularly have a lot of debate. Harry and I have decided to have a joint present this year, so it makes it a bit easier when we can share the responsibility of getting it right.
The nation has celebrated the Queen's birthdays and jubilees many times before. She isn't a lady to like a fuss, something her youngest son, Prince Edward, and his wife Sophie, the Countess of Wessex, know all too well.
Well, I think what no one else has to remember about birthdays is that it's an excuse for everybody else to have a party. And I'm sure that the Queen's obviously looking forward to the 90th. That's one thing, but I think that once the event is over, I think she would quite like it to sort of, as any of us, when we reach the city, she would quite want that sort of just disappear into the background and then get on with life. So, but yes, I think around the 21st of April, I think there'll be quite a lot of celebrations, and yes, we'll be there to try and help and mark the occasion as well.
Actually, we don't need much of an excuse to get together, but it's good to have something to mark the occasion with. But yeah, there'll be plenty of celebrations and card making by the children. I think a bit of that going on as well. But yeah, so it'll be fun, I think.
Balancing being monarch with family life is something only the Queen can fully understand. With her busy schedule, moments when they can all be together are very precious. How important is it for her to get everybody around together?
It's really important. I think she puts family sort of very much alongside her duty and her role, and it's what really makes her tick. You know, she works very hard, and she sees her service as very important, but behind closed doors she worries and minds an awful lot about the rest of the family and wants to make sure everyone is happy and sort of, you know, finding their own path and being a success.
The busy periods really genuinely are busy, and often it's a situation where we don't necessarily see so much of each other. So I think when those occasions that you mentioned, like Christmas at Sandringham and the summer at Balmoral and Easter at Windsor, you know, those are real occasions where we can really get together and spend time with each other. And it's very much more condensed, and it's a time to sort of shut the door a little bit on the rest of the world and actually spend that quality time together. And of course, particularly Sandringham and Balmoral lend themselves very well for that kind of event because they have the space, and it's quite a large family too.
As a mother of 4, Elizabeth was juggling family and her international role. Life for the young Prince Edward was full of extraordinary events. Few children have the head of state doing the school run.
As you were growing up sometimes, was it difficult for her to balance her job as the monarch with family time and making sure that she spent time with you as children?
I'm sure it probably was, My view is slightly different, being the youngest. So I think, in any case, I think my parents were much more relaxed by then. So they'd been there, done that, so I wasn't necessarily aware of it. And as a child, as you're growing up, you're not necessarily aware of it. Looking back on it, I think, well, actually, maybe. There was. The summer was definitely. So school would break up in July, and that would be for me the phony holiday. So we'd go off and do different things. But my parents really weren't really able to escape until August, and that was always really frustrating because we get to Balmoral in sort of mid-August, and it was great fun. But I was only there for about 2 weeks, and then it was off back to school again. It was like very, very frustrating.
For Prince William too, growing up with the Queen as grandmother, there have been some memorable moments.
When we were very young, obviously, it was harder for her to have so much time, and we were obviously living elsewhere as well, so we were never really all together in the same place. But whenever we had the family moments and we met up, she'd be very keen on watching what the children were up to, and I think there were moments when she loved the noise and running around the house. It kind of brought the house to life, and it kind of made the real family atmosphere alive. But there were other moments where I think she just wanted to smack us over the head and tell the naughty, noisy children to go next door.
One of the joys of living a long life is watching one's children, then grandchildren, then great-grandchildren, help decorate the Christmas tree. And this year, my family has a new member to join in the fun.
She's always been incredibly loving towards the children, and I've seen that now with Charlotte and George. She's very doting on the children and likes to keep an eye, particularly Charlotte. She's fascinated by what Charlotte gets up to.
Your son and daughter are growing up now. What is their relationship like with the Queen?
Oh, they adore her. They adore both of them, actually. She takes a genuine interest in them and loves to hear what they have to say about activities that they've been doing. And of course, if they share an activity with her, such as particularly Louise with riding, and she loves the fact that Louise enjoys the ponies. And James enjoys the vehicles. So, no, she really does have a wonderful relationship with them, but she's very much in control.
The family is very close together, and we do enjoy spending time. And she's always made time all the way through her life, and yes, there have been those particular moments of the year when that very much comes first.
We're a lot more fortunate because we live so much closer to the Queen, so when she spends a lot of time at Windsor at weekends, our children are more fortunate because they can go over and have tea with her on a regular basis. So we do see quite a lot of her, and we're over there most weekends riding, and so she sees quite a lot of us. Lucky her.
You were sitting facing. I can possibly know that.
People talk about her having a great sense of fun. Do you have any particularly fond childhood memories when you had a lot of fun with your grandmother?
There was, there's been plenty of moments. I think the earliest one that I can remember, which just stuck in my mind for a long time, was Peter, my cousin, and I were on a quad bike in Balmoral, and we were chasing Zara around, who was on a go-kart. Peter and I managed to herd Zara into a lamppost, and the lamppost came down and nearly squashed her. And I remember my grandmother being the first person out of Balmoral, running across the lawn in her kilt, and came charging over and gave us the most mighty bollocking. And that sort of stuck in my mind from that moment on that I really should be a little bit more careful about what I'm doing and try not to kill my cousins.
Well, obviously, your grandmother is very fond of going out riding. You and your brother really enjoy your polo now. Was it the Queen who first got you onto a horse?
It wasn't actually the Queen the first time, no. She has obviously been a huge source of encouragement to us for riding. I think more than anything, she would love us to be more interested in racing. Her passion for racing, as everyone knows, is just second to none. She comes completely alive and really relishes every race she can get to. But I think on the sort of normal riding, I think my father was very keen for us to get on a horse from a very young age.
So the Queen hasn't got Prince George onto a horse quite yet, then?
Not just
a
yet.
little bit young.
Not just yet, but she has asked many times. Yeah.
She's trying.
She's trying hard.
Behind closed doors, she has been there for her children and grandchildren at more difficult times in their lives. The death of Princess Diana was a personal tragedy, but the Queen was criticised for staying up in Scotland and not fully appreciating the public mood. She eventually made an unprecedented TV broadcast.
I admired and respected her for her energy and commitment to others, and especially for her devotion to her 2 boys.
Privately, she was there for her grandsons. It's not something they've spoken about in public.
What has she meant for you as a female influence in your life, especially during your teenage years?
I think she's been a very strong female influence, and having lost my mother at a very young age, it's been particularly important for me that I've had somebody like the Queen to look up to, and who's been there, who's understood some of the more complex issues that, you know, when you lose a loved one can bear. So no, she's been incredibly supportive, and I've really appreciated her guidance.
The Queen continues to balance the needs of her family with the demands of being monarch. And at 90 years old, she has plenty of experience to pass on. Elizabeth had enjoyed a relatively carefree childhood until her father became king and she unexpectedly found herself heir to the throne. Service to her country would have been ingrained in her, but now she had to more fully embrace life in the public eye.
It is who she is. It is what she is. It is within her and without her. She made a promise when she was very young, and it is something that she has remained true to all of her life and will continue to do so.
When she was 21, Princess Elizabeth made her first public pledge of duty and service to her country and Commonwealth.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
As Queen, technology became a vital way of connecting with her people.
25 years ago, my grandfather broadcast the first of these Christmas messages. Today is another landmark, because television has made it possible for many of you to see me in your homes on Christmas Day.
I mean, as a little girl growing up, like every other little girl, I saw plenty of pictures and news footage of her carrying out her role, her duties. And of course, she was the Queen. She was always there. She was, this consistent person who every Christmas Day we saw on television delivering the speech.
When, as a child, did it dawn on you what a significant part your mother had to play in national life? Do you remember as a child thinking, gosh, look at what my mother has achieved, look at what she does?
That's a very interesting question, because it's very difficult sometimes to be able to work out what is a real memory and what is a referred memory. And I can't necessarily remember when that realisation was there. Because when you grow up in that family, in that environment, that's just what your parents do. Unless you become aware of what other children are doing, you don't tend to you just accept it. It's just part of life. It's there. It is your life, so you just accept it. It's been much more interesting watching our children growing up and watching our children, in a sense, trying to work out what that is and how that works. And probably not until 5 or 6, I think, is.
Yes.
I mean,
Louise had no concept, really, that the Queen and her grandmother were one and the same person. I mean, she did in some ways, but the reality, what that truly meant, didn't dawn on her. And I actually asked my husband, did somebody sit you down and tell you? And of course, you know, as he's just answered, it didn't really happen that way, because being the youngest, it was something that just evolved. And again, for James, it's just evolved. He's understood a lot more far earlier because his sister has told him. Whereas for Louise, I kind of assumed that it would just be this gradual dawning of realisation, and it really wasn't. So it wasn't until she was at school where other children were mentioning and saying, your grandmother's the Queen, and she'd come home and say, Mummy, they say that Mama is the Queen. And I said, yes. And she said, I don't understand what they mean.
Even as a young royal, you're expected to carry out your fair share of official engagements. There is no real training. You learn very quickly on the job.
Walkabouts, there must be a real art to those.
I think walkabouts are completely chaos. They have a meaning of their own. You just end up just walking in all sorts of different directions. But it's fantastic, the people you meet from walkabouts. It's sort of thing you can never organise or plan. It just sort of spontaneously happens, and you get to meet people you never thought you would meet, or people who friends or whatever. And it's a very interesting dynamic. But no, there's no apprenticeship, sadly. It'd be very nice if there was sometimes. But she's always on hand to guide and to be there for support and advice. And she's done it all. She's been there, done it for 90 odd years, pretty much. So her source of knowledge and wisdom is huge.
I remember vividly the awful realisation that we were going to have to walk through this corridor of people, because the cars, I couldn't even see the cars, it was around the corner. And my parents just set off and started talking. I thought, well, I can either walk down the middle like a complete lemon. I think my brother was there as well, so we said, well, okay, well, you go that side, I'll go the other side, and and that was it. There was absolutely no instruction whatsoever. And the probably only piece of advice I think I was given, don't treat it as a receiving line, so don't start shaking hands. Because once you've shaken one person, you are completely stuck. You have to shake everybody's hand. So you try to avoid that. And some people say it's rather odd. I said, look, I've had that one changed about 4 times. I mean, it's not the original hand I had. So
I don't remember him giving me any instruction either, by the way.
Becoming part of the royal firm comes with its own pressures. You're not just marrying into a family, this is an institution which is constantly in the public eye. You're expected to step up to the mark and represent your country.
As a newcomer to the family, are you also given some advice?
My first real walkabout again was in Canada when we went to the East Coast. And there were hundreds of people. And I remember I was wearing a particularly uncomfortable pair of shoes at the time, which kept on falling off. So I was actually slightly more concentrating on the issue of the shoes. But no, it is quite daunting. But then when you realise that actually people have genuinely turned up to say hello, and they want to say hello, and they're pleased to see you, it's very heartwarming, really. And actually to stand back and watch the sheer pleasure on people's faces as if they get to be able to say hello to the Queen is wonderful. And they, just a look or a nod or a smile and a hello, they're absolutely thrilled.
Without a shadow of doubt, the one of the best entertainments is being in the car behind the Queen's car. That's absolutely, because that's when you see all the reactions, especially in places where they're not expecting to see the Queen.
And
so
we
it's
open
even
the
better.
window just a little bit so we can hear what people are saying.
It's terrible, because they're probably all watching this, so it's not true really, but it's quite fun watching people's reactions.
So if you're in a crowd, you need to be aware that you're all watching to see what the reaction is.
The people in the cars behind have a great time.
As her family have grown up, the Queen has passed on some of her formal duties. Handing out honours is one of them.
With the more ceremonial side of things, surely there must be a formula to doing it. You're doing more and more investitures. Presumably she must have said, right, this is how you should be doing it. This is how long you speak to people. Yeah. Knighthoods, for example. The
knighthood's very tricky. Very tricky. You cut ears off if you're not careful. But no, I think when I first started investitures, I was pretty terrified because it's like you say, it's a formula. It's very strict. And I did ask her for advice, and I had a run through for my first investiture because I really didn't want to muck it up and cut someone's ear off. It would have been a little bit embarrassing. But after a while, it kind of it just develops its own, and it's so important that you listen and give as much attention as you can to each individual. There's a lot of people come through, and when you hear their stories, you want to talk to them for about an hour, but you only get about 2 minutes with each person, if that. So it's quite it's a tricky process to try and make sure that you get to give people as much time as you possibly can, because I've met some of the most amazing people from Investitures, and it's incredible to actually see around the country what goes on. There are so many wonderful people doing incredible voluntary work, foster carers, or whatever it might be. There's some fantastic stories.
Another expert in the art of royal engagements and walkabouts is her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh. A constant by her side, the Queen and Prince Philip make the ultimate royal partnership.
The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh have it down to a T, don't they? People have talked about how she will go one way, he will go the other, and they are a real team when it comes to those engagements.
And also Duke of Edinburgh always notices the little one who's got a flower that he or she wants to give to the Queen. And there are many, many photographs and footage of him picking the child up, taking it over the barrier and letting the child go and give the flower to the Queen. And then he always notices things like that.
Frequently, we have discussed my intended speech beforehand, and as you will imagine, his views have been expressed in a forthright manner. He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments, but he has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years. And I and his whole family, and this and many other countries, owe him a debt greater than he would ever claim, or we shall ever know.
Particularly for a woman in a role such as she has, I think it would be a very lonely place to be if she didn't have a life partner the way that she has with Prince Philip. And he's a strong character, he's someone she can lean on. He has his own interests as well as the interests of the Queen as well. Sort of has her back, really. He's been very supportive of her over the years, but also, it's not just about being Queen. She has a family as well, and the two of them together are the head of that family, and they've been wonderful to all of us over the years.
The main lesson that we've learned is that tolerance is the one essential ingredient of any happy marriage. It may not be quite so important when things are going well, but it is absolutely vital when things get difficult. And you can take it from me that the Queen has the quality of tolerance and abundance.
For this elderly couple, they don't see retirement as an option, so the rest of the family are expected to give their support. As head of the Commonwealth, the Queen has visited every corner of the planet. As international travel became easier, she increasingly saw it as her duty to be seen by as many people as possible. Younger members of the family are now increasingly representing her around the world, doing it their own way.
I was trying to ask her the other day about how many countries she actually hasn't been to, because that's an easier question for her to answer than where have you been. There's an element of a little bit of pressure, only because you don't want to let anyone down. You don't let yourself down, but equally you really don't want to let her down. She's always on hand for advice and support, and it's as much about us doing it our way as it is about getting it right, and she's the first person to support that sort of way. She likes the idea that we have our own style, it's a new generation, and there's no point everyone doing it the same way. It's the modernisation of the royal family and how it does its stuff that actually is more interesting and keeps it relevant.
I'm incredibly lucky to have my grandmother in my life. As she turns 90, she's a remarkably energetic and dedicated guiding force for her family. And I'm so glad that my children are having the chance to get to know the Queen. George and Charlotte too will discover how lucky they are. Now it's important that everyone here tonight understands that I am here as the Queen's representative. She may be my grandmother, but she's also very much the boss.
Namaste.
These grand international tours involve meeting and greeting and promoting Brand UK abroad. Back home, the Royals' real power is in the support they give to hundreds of charities and organisations.
You share a number of different links, whether it's the NSPCC, also involvement with the WI as well. There was that fantastic engagement last year, the cake cutting. You were there for that. She's used to cutting a few cakes and cutting ribbons, but that one got in her way a bit.
I got the better of her, actually. It's probably the only one that's ever got the better of her. Had to be a WI one, though, didn't it?
In terms of supporting you, in terms of developing the charities that you want to support, has she really helped you along the way with that?
Oh, well, carrying out engagements, for her, I can only hope to fill a tiny part of the shoes.
So have you found some things in here that you like?
Well, I think I might have this morning. I want a black handbag for travelling.
For all of us, we've all sort of charted our own course, really, picked up our own interests as far as possible. For her, of course, she's got hundreds of different charities, and I think she's very grateful if any of us have actually stepped up and actually tried to share a little bit of the burden. They cover all sorts of different issues, and of course you couldn't hope to be in all places at the same time. I was thrilled when she asked me to become Vice Patron of the Diamond Jubilee Trust, which has a special interest in sight, which is something that I'm very interested in. And she likes to know what I've been doing, and well, actually, it's not that she likes to know what I've been doing, she always knows what I've been doing.
She's closely watching your diaries,
she knows what we're all up to.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're all busy.
It's always quite a lot of give and take because she's interested in where we've been and then reporting back on what we've found and what we've seen, because we're bound to bump into other people that she knows, or she knows most of the characters as well, so it's always quite useful before going as well.
The royal family are judged by many on how busy they are. Every year, the Queen continues to carry out hundreds of visits and engagements, allowing her grandchildren to try their hand at other roles, something that Prince William in particular has been criticised for most recently.
How supportive has the Queen been in terms of you trying to balance at the moment royal duties and your job as an air ambulance pilot? Lots of people have their own views about how you're balancing that, but what does she think?
She's, surprisingly, she's very supportive of everything I'm doing at the moment. She understands that I'm a family man and I want to be around for my children as much as I can. She understands that whilst we've got three very active generations of the family, she's very much at the helm, the Queen. She's, incredibly active, her schedule's packed. My father is very active, charitably and otherwise. And there's me and Harry and Catherine and everyone else. So it's there's a time and a place for, taking on more and more responsibilities, and that will come, and I will look forward to doing that. But at the moment, I'm very much concentrating on my family, serving the community with the air ambulance, which is an incredibly worthwhile, meaningful job that I love, working alongside some of the best doctors in the country, and also serving the Queen as and when she requires me to. So it's a good balance, and she's very supportive of that.
The Queen kisses the book and signs the form of oath.
If we look back at when your grandmother became Queen, she was only 25.
I know that my abiding memory of it will be not only the solemnity and beauty of the ceremony, but the inspiration of your loyalty and affection. I thank you all from a full heart. God bless you all.
She's learnt over all those decades. She has learnt so much. Do you talk to her about what it's like to be sovereign and what that may mean for you in the future?
I haven't yet, but I probably should. I remember very much with my great-grandmother, actually, the Queen Mother, that a lot of my friends at the time were saying, you must speak to your great-grandmother about what it was like in the war. And you know, her experiences, because it is very important that the younger generations fully understand quite what the other generations lived through and gain as much experience and knowledge of them as you can. And I haven't breached that particular subject with her just yet, but everything else around work life and visions and objectives, I do very much talk to her about, and she's very, like I said, she's very supportive and very willing to talk about it.
She has been doing the job longer than any other king or queen. In September 2015, she became Britain's longest reigning monarch, shaping the role over 7 decades.
Many, including you, First Minister, have also kindly noted another significance attaching to today, although it is not one to which I have ever aspired. Inevitably, a long life can pass by many milestones. My own is no exception. But I thank you all, and the many others at home and overseas, for your touching messages of great kindness.
Many will be wondering whether she has any intention of slowing down now she's 90. Not likely, according to her family.
They continue to do so many engagements, the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. Does it continue to surprise you? Many people in their 90s would be putting their feet up a little bit.
You try and tell either of my parents to go. Good luck to you. No. To be honest, you know, it's the business is a people business. That's what it's about, and it is that interest and continuing interest in people which is what keeps us all going, and it keeps them going. It's their passions, it's the interests they have. I mean, my grandmother was the same, it is, and so actually, frankly, the more active that they are, the more interest they have, and the more interested they stay, the far better. And it's just, you know, you can't avoid it in this job. You can't put your feet up. There is no pension plan in this job.
When you hear people shouting outside, we want the Queen, we want the Queen, and that wonderful roar.
It's quite a surreal moment every time. And it must be even more surreal for everyone watching as well. It's become a very iconic moment, having the whole family on the balcony, and it's something that I never really appreciated growing up. And only now do you start to sort of see the pictures and the history and the sort of importance of it.
We are just the supporting cast on these occasions. There's no doubt about it, and I'm just trying to remember. I can't remember the first time I went out onto the balcony. It is a very peculiar moment. There's no doubt about it. It's that energy. It is that enthusiasm which will always remain, and it's the noise as well. That I think is a bit that is just quite extraordinary. There have been some fantastic occasions, but it's very difficult to describe it. But we are just the supporting cast. There was only one person they're there for.
Long may she reign.
From street parties to concerts, flypasts and the finest pageantry Britain can muster, the Queen has seen many milestones that have brought the country together. Her 90th birthday is seen as another real moment of national celebration for a woman who continues to be held in high regard across the globe, thanks to her unique form of quiet diplomacy.
When you're with the Queen carrying out engagements, what kind of reaction do you get from both the general public, but also world leaders potentially? They must, kind of the whole strata, be in awe of her.
They melt around her. And I've seen the strongest men just literally sort of become putty in their fingers. They are all in awe of her, and that's the thing. And I think the longer she's gone on for in her life and service, the more people have warmed to her more. And she's now reached sort of the 90 milestone, and I think there's just so much love and admiration for her around the world, particularly with world leaders actually, who sometimes you can imagine they're all sort of vying for their spot. But with the Queen, they see her in a very different light.
People continue to enjoy meeting them and look forward to meeting them, and it's still an excitement. Then nobody's ever going to stop that, and that's exactly how it should be. And it's great, the whole way the country has and not just this country, but actually around the world, and throughout the realms and territories and Commonwealth. People are still remain excited about when the Queen comes, and they're genuinely happy that the Queen is going to celebrate this great birthday, and they're going to celebrate for it. And I think that is absolutely wonderful. And that sort of energy and enthusiasm they feed off. So, and we mustn't forget that my father's going to be marking a small milestone as well. And I don't mention that because I really will get into trouble.
She welcomes you very gently. It's not overly scary. I think she has a genuine appreciation of what it's like, to meet her for the first time. And she tries to make people feel relaxed, because as long as somebody's relaxed with her, then things are going to go swimmingly, hopefully. But I think she makes a genuine effort to try and make you feel confident and happy with her.
Her reign hasn't all been plain sailing. The royal family have faced their fair share of criticism. Those around her have little doubt that her enduring sense of duty has been vital in securing the future of the monarchy.
The Queen and the Prince enter to be received by the great officers of state.
As sovereign, it can be quite a lonely job, because there is only one sovereign, and that is where everything stops. There is no one else above. You can't pass anything on. It stops there. It is a lifetime duty. If we broke that golden thread, I think that it would change our history very quickly. There is a thread that runs through our history. We're very lucky. The sovereigns of this country have been a timeline. We don't measure our history by prime ministers. We don't measure our history by dates. It's by sovereigns. We don't realise how lucky we are to have it. And those countries that have lost it really miss the fact that they don't have that. It's that personality. That's. I know that in some ways a monarchy is not necessarily a. If you look at it in a purely academic way, it's not. Doesn't necessarily make an awful lot of sense, and so people get very frustrated about this. But you can love a monarchy, and that's the difference. And we're very, very lucky in this country because we have a monarch that is immensely loved.
What is the lasting impact that she's had, and how proud are you as a family?
Oh goodness, immensely proud of her. I can't think that there isn't anybody that wouldn't wish her well on this wonderful milestone. She's remained true to her promises that she made to the nation, and nobody could ask anything more of her, to be honest with you. But we know that she will just go on doing the same, and she's so good at it. I don't think we're allowed to sing her happy birthday, though.
No, I don't think it would be a very good idea, no.
It will be for us, the children of today, to make the world of tomorrow a better and happier place.
From young princess to marrying her wartime sweetheart, the joys of motherhood and becoming a young monarch. Over 90 years, the world has watched Queen Elizabeth's life unfold as she became one of the most recognised women in the world. She's lived through a time of extraordinary social change, there for the nation in good times and bad. Queen Elizabeth's family will again step up and support her as the world marks another milestone for this record-breaking monarch.
The impact is immense, and because she has been this rock through all sorts of periods and times, and there is a genuine love for the style and manner in which she has conducted herself. That engenders a huge amount of love, but also respect. She's earned a massive amount of respect from everybody. And a birthday is always, it's a great moment for everybody else to be able to celebrate. The Queen may want to move on quite quickly after that, but there we go. But enjoy the moment and have a great, and we all wish her a very, very happy birthday, and long may she continue.
Everyone will be obviously celebrating her 90th birthday. We are so used to seeing those big celebrations, you all coming out onto the balcony at Buckingham Palace, that sea of people in front of you on the Mall. Do you ever get used to that in terms of appreciating just what the Queen means to the country and the Commonwealth? It's
a unifying moment, and that's what the Queen does. She's a huge symbol for unification, and I think it's a real focal point, having the balcony and the Mall and everything like that. It's you know, the front of Buckingham Palace is one of the most famous buildings in the world, so to have the Queen and her family at Buckingham Palace there, it's a very symbolic moment.
And if they're singing Happy Birthday, will you all be joining in?
We'll try and get it in time. There's quite a delay between the crowds and us, but yes, I'm sure there'll be a happy birthday moment along the lines.